You're listening to My Comic Life on the My Comic Life Podcast Network. Welcome back to My Comic Life, folks. We are so thrilled that you're joining us for another action-packed, exciting episode. Sorry for the brief pause there last week. We had to go on a little hiatus. I was moving houses, so I had to set up my new studio. But we are back, and we are so thrilled that you're listening with us. Joining me each week in the My Comic Life studio, well, folks, he's the man that taught Dominic Toretto the meaning of family. Alex, say hello to the folks there, Alex.
I don't know who taught that man the meaning of family, but Jesus, dude, every freaking movie, it's a lesson in who they are and what they are. But I guess that goes to the charm of the movies, man. My hat's off to him. 9 movies now. Will I see the new one? Absolutely. I can't wait for the inevitable, Fast and the Furious versus Jurassic Park or Transformers or whatever kind of crossover we're gonna get. But I just, we can go on and on about that movie's well into the night. But please, Sam, I'm very excited to be with all of you this week. We had, kind of a little bit of a slow week, but we did manage to put a banger of a show together for you. So, Sam, can you please take us right into it?
Sure, jumping off on the Marvel side of things, the Marvel rumor mill was stirring this week. The latest rumor is that Tenoch Huerta is reportedly playing Namor in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Looks like the sequel to Black Panther is going to have the biggest introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe since Thanos. It is rumored that the Narcos star Tenoch Huerta has been tapped to play the role of Namor the Submariner. As long as the MCU has been active, there have been questions about when the studio was going to finally introduce one of Marvel Comics' oldest creations. Namor first appeared in Marvel Comics #1 in October of 1939 and was created by Bill Everett. I know, man. He has been around since day one. Now, he is classified as an Atlantean and as such has aquatic adaptation abilities as well as superhuman strength, speed, agility, senses, and reflexes, telepathic control over sea animals, much like Aquaman, and hydrokinesis. Alex, I gotta ask you, were you a Namor fan growing up?
I was not, man. I looked at him and thought he was kind of odd, with the green shorts and the green speedos and the wings on his feet. Always thought it was, but that just wasn't what I was into as a kid. I wanted my heroes, super muscular with a million pockets and pouches like Rob Liefeld used to draw them, and he had absolutely no pockets or pouches because how can you put him on a speedo? But with his recent revamps and everything like that, I have become a little bit more of a Namor fan, and I absolutely look forward to seeing him in the MCU. It's been a long time coming, and what was it? One of the earlier MCUs had kind of had a little Easter egg with him when they showed the map, and they had like Atlantis in the middle
Yeah,
of
yeah.
I think it was the Atlantic Ocean, right?
Yep,
And
yep.
so it's been a long time coming. I honestly can't wait to see everything like this. But what about you, Sam? Have you always been a fan of the what do they call him, the first mutant of the MCU, or what?
Much like you, I can't say that I was a big fan, and I've never really done much in-depth reading on Namor. I remember back when I was like watching Cartoon Network as a kid, and like they were rerunning the old 1960s, like 70s Fantastic Four cartoon. He showed up in like a few episodes there, and then even like the 90s Fantastic Four cartoon, once again, he showed up there. But like you, he just never really appealed to me. I mean, he had a ponytail and like a green kind of C-scale Speedo. And yeah, he had like tiny wings on his feet, which sometimes were there for show and sometimes gave him the ability to fly. And the only other thing I kind of knew about him was that he was he always was portrayed in cartoons as like a very arrogant character, and usually like somebody like the Fantastic Four would like humble him, and he was like, oh, okay, I've been humbled by you, so now like I respect you, and now I will like be like an ally to you, But beyond that, I can't ever say I've invested much time in this character. The only other thing I remember about Namor is once again back in the '90s they did a Marvel versus DC comic book series, and fans got to vote on who would win in a fight, and it was him versus Aquaman, and fans voted that Aquaman would hands down beat Namor, and he did in the comic book. I believe Aquaman threw a whale at him or contacted a whale to sit on him and squashed him. You know, like that's all I really remember of Namor. You know, so no, I don't have like a deep connection to this character at all.
Well, I think one of the cool things is that when you do look into, he's one of those characters where on the outside he is kind of not what you expect, but once you actually read some of his comic books and some of the works that he's been in, you can kind of appreciate the actual complexity of his character. Like he is that kind of brooding, as you were putting, this anti-hero that is reluctant to get involved or get his, kingdom involved in the affairs of surface dwellers and mankind and stuff like that. And it's really, I don't think they have a proper Namor comic out right now. I think the last thing that they did was it was like Marvel had that big King in Black event, and I think they did this little 5-issue miniseries with Namor, but he doesn't have like a proper comic in the works right now. Much like, the Fantastic Four, they don't have a proper comic out right now. But I am going to try to catch up on the character and see, and read some of his best works that they do have out there. But that being said, Sam,
Yes.
dude, it's quiz time, my friend.
Oh my
again,
gosh,
my brother. All right, this one is not going to be a movie quiz, or it's gonna, or shitty titles or whatever it was that we had. This is just going to be a couple of really quick questions about Namor to see.
Oh great! I just said I knew nothing about this guy. This is going to be great.
You can hang. These are just some quick little tidbits and stuff. Okay. Question one. And feel free to play along at home if you are listening. Okay. Let us know how much you get right in the comments. Question 1: Who came first, Namor or Aquaman?
I'm gonna say Namor came first.
Ding ding! Give this man a prize. Yeah. Namor was the first official Marvel superhero, first appearing in Motion Picture Funnies Weekly in April 1939, making him the original in this similarity battle. Despite being more widely known, Aquaman appeared later in More Fun Comics issue number 73 in November of 1941. So, I mean, Jesus, dude, the guy's like, what, 70 years old at this point? 80 years old? Man.
Looks pretty good for his age, man.
I guess, man, it must be all that fish. So, question 2, all right, and this has a little bit of a setup to it.
Okay.
Namor is, like I said, the first official Marvel superhero and hails from what historians refer to as the golden age of comic books. Marvel Comics number 1 was the first comic book from this publication company, which was the 1930s to the 1940s predecessor of Marvel Comics. What was the name of that company?
That would be, I'll take Timely. What is Timely Comics for 800, Alex?
Sam, okay. Sam's batting 1,000 right now, bro. I really thought that one was going to stump you up, but hey.
Man, you got to know what came before Marvel, man.
It really is your comics life, my friend.
My gosh.
So, this final question is a two-parter.
Oh.
As I said before, this was he was a very big character in the Timely / Marvel Comics way back in the 30s and 40s. Can you name the other 2 of Timely's top 3 characters?
Would that be Captain America and the original Human Torch?
Good God, man! This man is unstoppable this week. That is insane. My hat is off to you, my friend. You smashed this one out of the park.
Oh, man.
Listening at home, congratulate Sam in the comments, and please let us know how you did in this week's quiz. But Sam, please take us away.
Oh, man, wow, man. You really tested my comic book knowledge there. But yeah, so, Alex, let me ask you this, because DC has already launched their aquatic film series with Aquaman, and that was, pretty popular. Do you think with the popularity of Aquaman, will this take away from what Marvel tries to do with Namor?
I think it might, man. Seriously, because uh, when you go through a lot of these fan castings for Namor, I mean, Jason Momoa was like up there as far as who you would pick, and especially in the MCU, he would fit in perfectly. Somebody like Jason Momoa would fit in perfectly with the MCU, but he's already tied up with Warner Brothers playing the aforementioned Aquaman. So man, I really wish they would have came out with him a little earlier, or at least kind of hinted, gave us something, anything. Because right now it just kind of looks like they're, you know, I mean, the true, not true, but um, veteran kind of comic book character fans are gonna know that there's a difference between the two characters. But your casual fan is gonna look at this and be like, oh, well, they're just trying to cash in on the Aquaman fame. So I would hate for that to be the case. So I just really hope that they write this different. They make him, tweak the character and make it work for this MCU. But I mean, Sam, do you think that the Aquaman's popularity is going to have any kind of detriment on this character that Marvel's trying to peddle to us?
I think if Marvel can, distinguish Namor enough on his own and like not make him look like a copy of Aquaman, and I mean like they need to go back and watch James Wan's Aquaman and make sure that like Atlantis doesn't look too much like the Atlantis that like they created, and that you don't have quite like a similar story of like a battle for the throne per se,
Mm-hmm.
because I think if you include any of that in the introduction of Namor here, you're gonna draw comparisons between these two, and you have to have a really strong actor, like a really strong physical presence on screen, like DC, got with Jason Momoa, So, but I mean, Marvel's been doing really well so far, like they've almost nailed everything, like right out of the gate, 100%. So, I think they can do it here, but I think they just need to make sure that like for once they're not riding DC's coattails here, and like I said, they need to go back and study what James Wan did and be like, okay, let's not copy, like let's not make it an exact copy of this. Like let's try to do our own thing. And if you can do that, then Namor's going to be fine. But if you try to copy anything that DC had success with Aquaman, you're going to get called out on your shit real quick. And all the fanboys out there are going to spot it.
That's what I kind of fear is that they're gonna touch something a little bit too close to Aquaman, and it's just gonna take you completely out of the movie.
Well, with the news that Namor will appear in the highly anticipated Black Panther sequel, this means big developments for a handful of reasons. T'Challa, the Black Panther and King of Wakanda, and Namor, the Submariner and ruler of the Atlantean Empire, infamously do not get along with each other in the comics. In fact, the two nations have gone to war with one another multiple times throughout their comics history. Also, this may be an opportunity for the MCU to introduce mutants into the cinematic universe. Namor is classified as an Atlantean slash human mutant hybrid. And casting the talented Mexican actor Tina Huerta of, Narcos as Namor the Submariner also opens up possibilities to include the cultural aspect that the Mayans are possible descendants of Atlanteans. Now, Alex, what do you think? Is Tinoch is now 40? Is he going to be a good fit for the role of Namor in the long run?
So I know what you're getting at with him being 40, and we're looking at maybe a 10-year tenure into Marvel the MCU. But and at first I did kind of agree that maybe 40 is a little bit too seasoned, I guess, for lack for if I'm going to be putting it politely. But seeing some of his work in Narcos, like he does have that really good like he has an intensity about him that's just kind of like it seems like it would be very perfect to kind of to work for the character of Namor. Should these rumors be true, because I think he has this kind of he's really intimidating in that show, and he has this look on his face where he could just like go off at any moment, like he's just really unhinged, and that's something that would be um, really quite interesting to see the writers and the team at Marvel. You know, of course, they're very good at their jobs. See what they could do with a character like that. But I do, to go back to your question, at 40, at first I didn't think that it would work, but then you got to look at, this man is the king or the emperor of Atlantis, and you're not going to get there in your 20s. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't even be president before you're 35. So I think 40 is probably a pretty good age for a man who's ruling over an entire empire. And much like T'Challa, I think T'Challa is like supposed to be in his late 30s, early 40s in the MCU, so he'll fit in just fine. But what do you think is are you gonna be looking for Namor in the hair dye aisle at the Just for Men, trying to get rid of that little gray, or what are you thinking, Sam?
I will not be looking for Namor's obituary anytime soon. No. Actually, you just sold me, man. Like, you made a very compelling argument right there about, like, not being able to, like, run for president until you're 35. And so, yeah, if this guy's going to be king of Atlantis and have the respect of his people and not be, considered a hot-headed, arrogant youth, but a wise and benevolent ruler, then, yeah, this character's going to need some age on him. And so, no, I think 40, well, you sold me, Alex. At first, I was going to kind of be pushing back against it, but no, man. You totally won me over. 40 is a totally reasonable age to start him off at, because that gives him an established history as, as a ruler of Atlantis. Like, I've been ruling over Atlantis since I was, let's just say 30, like when my father died and I took over the throne at like 20, and I've,
Right.
I have ruled over this kingdom for like, 10, 15, 20 years, give him that far of a backstory, and Atlantis is prospering under his rules. So yeah, no, you totally sold me there, Alex. So you won me over. You changed my vote, man.
Well, you made a really good point right there. That it's just like at and not to say that Namor will be 40 or that Tanakh will be like playing his age. He could be, men in Hollywood, they could play anywhere. A 40-year-old man could play anywhere from like his late 20s to his his early 30s, or let's be honest here. But um, uh, when you cast somebody like this for and you like you said, they have that seasoned look about them. You introduce that air of mystery where people are like, oh, well, there's obviously more to this character, and hopefully we're going to get to see, an origin story of some sort, or at least, a prequel, some kind of connecting stories that we'd be able to, like, get more information on this character. So hopefully Marvel can do it.
Okay, but let me ask you this follow-up question here. If not Tinoch, who would you pick to play the role of Namor?
I mean, Jason. If we throw out Jason Momoa, I like Luke Evans would be a good pick
Oh
for me, I
yeah.
think. And of course, you know, I'll always I'll always swing at the opportunity to knock one out of the park with the old Oded fur.
Oh, you
As
stole one of mine.
as I knew you were gonna do it, so I'd have to take yeah. But really, Luke Evans is probably the guy that I would pick as. I had another guy too. I just can't remember who it was, but I think definitely Luke Evans for me would be the number one.
Oh
What
man,
about
for
you, Sam?
me,
Sorry, I
no, no,
passed this
man,
question on to you, my friend.
you're totally fine. I always believe in like variety and that you should have multiple choices. So I got three here for you. Right out of the gate though, you stole one of my picks. I was gonna go with Oded Fur right there. Friend of the show. We love you, Oded. Uh, others on my list, Donnie Yen. To see his martial arts styling and twirling a titan or a
Uh,
triton around, and also I think he can play arrogant sometimes really well. Something like if you wanted
yeah,
Namor to come off as like arrogant yet benevolent. I think Donnie Yen could really nail that. So yeah, so Donnie Yen, Oded for, and then third place for me, Adrian Brody, man.
No, no, I'm not gonna
No.
have any weird looking guys playing Namor in my movies, dude. Nah, I'm all right on that.
Oh my
I'm okay
gosh.
on that. But I do remember who, you jogged my memory, and it was if he wasn't so impossibly just booked up out of this man has work after work after work. But Steven Yeun, I think would play a
Oh
really
my
good Namor.
gosh. Yeah, yeah. He would kick ass.
Yeah, he definitely would. But I think he's booked up until like 2040. Man, that dude is.
Oh yeah, that
So
guy's always got some project going on. We can't even get him
absolutely.
on the show, man.
We keep trying, man, but hey, his people won't call me back. I don't know what to tell you.
All right, jumping from the Marvel universe to the DC universe. We got our first look this week at DC's League of Super Pets, an odd property from Warner Brothers Pictures. The studio released a teaser for their upcoming DC League of Super Pets animated movie. The very brief 20-second clip showcases the animation style that fans can expect when the film releases May 20th, 2022. Now, this film is written and directed by Jared Stern, who wrote Green Eggs and Ham, The Watch, The Internship, and The Lego Batman, and is subsequently co-directed by Sam Levine, who directed Robot and Monsters and did additional story material on Wreck-It Ralph. Alex, did you ask for this?
All right. Okay.
Oh, he's cracking one open, ladies and gentlemen. What are you cracking one open for this week,
I did
Alex?
I did not ask for this. I don't know who asked for this, but I do in as a dad, I do invite this kind of a movie because the work that these guys did, I didn't ask for the Lego Batman movie, but I absolutely love it. Like it is a hilarious movie, and I'm willing to give this one a chance. But it's like I just I don't know with the problems that DC has been having when it comes to the theaters, and recently my hats off to them. They've been doing really good recently, but they really should be just focusing on kind of your more live action stuff and getting Henry Cavill back, getting Ben Affleck back, bringing back everybody that the fans want. But I'm willing to give this a shot. So, but I mean, what about you, Sam? Are you excited about this property coming up?
I'm just kind of dumbfounded. Like, I'm going to use a little bit of a baseball analogy here. I'm pitching, you're batting, and here comes Warner Brothers Studios way out of left field, just being like, hey, here, Super Pets. I remember there being a brief superhero pet themed DC series on Cartoon Network kind of back in the day, and like I'd be getting up at like 10:30 in the morning and having a cup of coffee and like flipping through the channels, and like I would see it and be like, oh yeah, that's Crypto the Super Dog, and then I'd go past it. I've never really been invested in superheroes and their pets for the most part. But you know, I think you made a good point. We didn't ask for Lego Batman, but Lego Batman turned out to be this fantastic film. So I'm hoping this movie will take me by surprise, like Lego Batman did. Um, Alex, what do you see as the target audience for this film here?
Okay, so as you know, I think this will be one of the first Warner Brothers movies to not be released like concurrently on HBO Max
Yeah,
since
no, no. This is going to be like a
2022.
stand. Yeah, it's going to be a standalone theater release.
So, I think the target audience is probably more for the family because a lot of the releases that they have been putting out on the in both theaters and on the app has been kind of more adult oriented with you got The Conjuring and Those
Oh,
That Wish Me Dead and a lot of what was it In the Heights. Some of those are a little bit more mature. Not going to say that they're not I'm not taking my family to see The Conjuring, but um, I think this is going to be more of your family-oriented type of movie. Obviously, with with the animation style that you saw, and I will definitely be taking my kids to go see it. My oldest one, she's 14, so she's probably not going to want anything to do with anything. But my two younger ones, they're 8 and they will be 4 at the time, so I think they'll definitely be who this movie is kind of aimed at. But that's, I mean, what about you, Sam? Do you are you
uh,
gonna be, you gonna be there front row with a big old bag of popcorn, your hat
no,
backwards?
I would look totally creepy being front row there. I don't have any kids really, so I mean, like, I'd have to go with like you and like your kids, man, or like a a friend, or like a group of friends, or like friends who have kids. But no, I don't. Also, this just doesn't quite appeal to me yet. So no, I will not be there for day one front row center with like a backwards baseball cap, trying to blend in. Yeah, no. But no, I mean, like, I hope this does well, and as soon as it comes to streaming, yeah, sure, man, I will check it out. I will definitely check it out.
So
Just
Sam,
due
let me
to
ask you this:
yeah,
do you see this as an attempt to get the family back into theaters to watch DC movies to kind of kickstart that?
I do. Like you said, HBO Max has been like dropping just a lot of like direct stuff like to the streaming service, and I think in being like, look, man, this is a kid-friendly film. Much like along the lines of like Titans Go was like the summer before the pandemic hit. Yeah, this may be their way of being like, look, we want you guys to get back into the DC universe. Both young and old, and so we're gonna start here with DC's League of Super Pets. Um, I will say though, man, DC's League of Super Pets has signed on some serious talent to play characters that include Superman's dog Crypto, Batman's dog Ace the Bat Hound. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to say this one. Wonder Woman's kangaroo Jumpa and
Jumper, the old jumper.
Oh my gosh. And Supergirl's cat Streaky the Super Cat. I'm eye rolling at all these names, but then look at this. Dwayne the Rock Johnson is tapped to play Crypto. Kevin Hart will be Ace the Bat Hound. We're getting another Rock, Rock and Hart pick there.
Oh man. So, all right, I'm not done with my first one, but I got it. Like, okay, because it's almost getting to the point now where you just might as well like chain them together. Like I get
Yeah,
it, they're hilarious together. They're really fun, but it's not something that has to happen. And right now, I feel like Hollywood is kind of at that point where they're like, is there some way that we can work both The Rock and Kevin Hart into this? And like, if they announce that Kevin Hart is going to be any part of Black Adam, you can count me out of watching that damn movie because
yeah. I mean,
there's just no place for him in that world.
I mean, Kevin Hart even got a cameo as an air marshal in Hobbs and Shaw. They found a way to work him into that film. And don't get me wrong. I mean, like when a dynamic duo works well together, like yeah. I mean, like a lot of classic Hollywood stars, used to team up for like multiple films, and I hold no grudge against what I'm going to call the Rock and Heart connection here. No, I both wish them well, and they are funny together, and they play off each other really well. But I mean, like there was the CIA movie, there was the two Jumanji films, and I know there have been other ones out there, but yeah, I'm to the point of saturation on this, so that I'm with you, Alex. Where I'm like, you know, The Rock doesn't have to be in a Kevin Hart film, and vice versa. Kevin Hart doesn't always have to be in a Rock film. But hey, some other all-star talent that is signed on to this film includes Kate McKinnon, John Krasinski of The Office, and oh, fingers crossed here. We got our fingers crossed in the My Comic Life studio. John Krasinski, hopefully of the Fantastic Four.
Absolutely.
Man, we hope that so much. Vanessa Bayer of SNL, Natasha Lyonne of Orange is the New Black, Diego Luna, who you will know from Rogue One, a Star Wars story in the upcoming Disney Plus series Andor, is in this. And oh my gosh, great friend of the show. We love this guy. We celebrate his work here. We think he's a great person. Keanu Reeves, the genuinely exceptional human being, has signed on as well. What do you think of this cast list, Alex? Do any names surprise you?
Like I know we just spent like a good like 2 minutes ripping the Rock and Heart connection, but it might work for something like this. And with the addition, like Kate McKinnon is she's an absolute treasure. Like she is funny as hell in everything that I've seen her in. John Krasinski as well is also extremely funny. Um, Vanessa Bayer, I've seen her on SNL too. I think she's gonna do well in here. Diego Luna is kind of the black sheep of this. Both Diego and Keanu are kind of the black sheep of this selection. Like they seem like they're not cut for this kind of a movie. But the one thing that I and many fans that I've read in the comments and everything are agreeing on is that it is an absolute travesty that you're gonna make Ace the Bat Hound like this, probably a very small pug, and with Kevin Hart's voice, when you know damn well if you have Keanu Reeves, you were supposed to get that damn you were supposed to have Keanu Reeves be Batman's number one canine, and I don't understand what they were thinking. I feel like if you had Dwayne Johnson be the I guess I don't know how the relationship would work and who would be the straight man and who would be the funny guy, but if he teamed up with Keanu Reeves and Kevin Hart was kind of playing in the background, I think that would be a lot. It has more opportunity to be very funny, but then again, I'm not the one getting paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars to think this stuff up. That's for the guys over there at Warner. But what do you think? Do any of these names surprise you, or what do you got
Uh,
going on in that head of yours, Sam?
Too much, my friend. No, just kidding. Keanu Reeves doesn't surprise me as much, even though I haven't seen Toy Story 4. I remember people highlighting him in Toy Story 4 and they're just saying how great and fun his character was as the stunt
Duke
toy
Kaboom.
in that yeah, Duke Kaboom. So I mean, he has done animation before, and apparently people really loved him in it. So and obviously he had fun doing it, because he signed on for this. I totally agree though that yeah, Keanu Reeves would have. I mean, like Keanu Reeves and like The Rock, he just gave me like goosebumps. I like that team up, and yeah, like if they try to play off, uh, like Superman being like the straight, like tough dog, and like Batman's dog is kind of like like always trailing behind, or is kind of like the comedic relief to the Rock there. No, yeah, I would have switched that around, and like I much like in the comics, I would have put Batman and Superman on almost equal footing, and like a little playful banter, but probably not as much as they're gonna play it up, here. Yeah, so yeah, no, the only name that really kind of surprised me here was Diego Luna. Yeah, he's kind of a head scratcher. It'll be interesting to see, what roles each one of these actors fills out, because, yeah, we know we got The Rock as Crypto, and we know we got Kevin Hart as Ace the Bat Hound, but it still leaves Wonder Woman's kangaroo Jumpa, and
Did you just throw up in your mouth a little bit
a
there?
little bit there, and we still got Supergirl's cat Streaky, but I can only imagine possibly that maybe either Bayer or Kate McKinnon's gonna voice the cat, and I would like to see maybe Keanu Reeves play the kangaroo and see him try to take on a Australian accent. Like that could be really funny actually
Oh
to me.
God.
But I would, yeah, no, I would much rather see, yeah, Keanu Reeves play Batman's dog, and Dwayne Johnson be Crypto, and then you could have Kevin Hart be Jumpa, and I think that would be hilarious, to play Wonder Woman's kangaroo. Um,
Absolutely, but it does have a very impressive cast list. But I mean, I think you said that yet it not only has an impressive cast list, but it also has some amazing production behind it.
Yes, not only does this production boast an impressive cast list, but the studio behind the animation, that the studio that has been doing the animation for this has also done visual effects for films like The Lego Movie, Peter Rabbit, The Matrix, Captain Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Age of Ultron,
Sheesh.
Civil War, Doctor Strange, Alien Covenant, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire,
Easily the
300,
best Harry Potter movie.
and the upcoming Astro Boy, and the upcoming, so far, untitled fourth Matrix film. Now, knowing all the effort and the level of ingredients of this production, I think you said, I think you already answered this, but just asking it again. Will you be there day one checking it out, Alex, or like will you be there like Saturday, Sunday checking it out?
Well, okay, so like you said, I have kids, so I have a good excuse. So I'm just gonna take my kids. Probably gonna be for me, but I'm gonna be like, we'll go ahead and we'll go, and so that way I don't have to look creepy. I guess I could rent. If you wanted to rent one of my kids for that weekend and check it out yourself, we might could talk about something off
Oh
the show.
my gosh.
But just hit me up, just DM me, Sam, if you want to check it out. But I pass the same question on to you. No shame. Like would you, if there was no shame involved, would you check this movie out day one?
Not day one. If it gets like amazing reviews, if it's like 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, if it's getting 4 stars across the board, uh, knowing my fandom, obviously, because we're doing this podcast here, I would try to sneak into like the latest showing possible, sitting in like the furthest like back right corner seat. We're
Right.
talking sunglasses, hat drawn down like low over my face.
Oh yeah, that's a good way to not look creepy.
Yeah,
Why
I
don't you
take that
just throw
back.
on a nice trench coat too?
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I will rethink that disguise. But yeah, no. Yeah, we're talking like 8:30, 9:30. If theaters are back open, they're doing like late showings. Like 10 o'clock showing. Yeah, I'll show up like the 10 o'clock showing. And sit in like the back row and just be like, all right, don't anybody look at me, please.
Well, good luck, my friend.
All right, jumping from DC back over to Marvel. Wow, that last bit sounded creepy. All right, spoiler time here, folks. The first episode of Loki dropped this past Wednesday, and as always, we here at My Comic Life, seeing that Loki is, episodes are released on Wednesday, and we record the following Sunday. We figured 5 days is enough to grant our listeners time before we cover this new show from Disney Plus. The first episode of Loki is titled Glorious Purpose and was released on June 9th. Alex, I didn't forget. I'm going to take a pause here. I'm going to give the famous My Comic Life countdown that our listeners have come to grow and love on this show before we begin spoiling the episode. So I'm telling you now, pause the podcast here, go steal somebody's Disney Plus log on, watch this episode, and then come back and immediately start the podcast here. You have it in 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. Loki. Loki is captured by the Time Variance Authority for creating a new timeline after escaping the Battle of New York with the Tesseract in 2012. The TVA resets the timeline, turning this version of Loki into a time variant. In the TVA's headquarters, Judge Ravonna Renslayer accuses him of crimes against the sacred timeline. Loki blames the Avengers for creating the situation by traveling back in time. However, Renslayer states that unlike Loki's escape, the Avengers' mission was meant to happen. Agent Mobius M. Mobius takes Loki to the Time Theater to review Loki's past misdeeds and questions his history of hurting people, showing that Loki in his would-be future inadvertently caused the death of his adopted mother, Frigga. Loki steals TVA technology and the Tesseract, but gives up on escaping after realizing the TVA's power exceeds that of the Infinity Stones. Loki returns to the Time Theater and watches more of his would be future, including his own demise at the hands of Thanos. Realizing that cruelty and mischief will not lead to his ascendance, Loki agrees to work with Mobius to hunt down the killer of several TVA troops, whom Mobius says is another variant of Loki. Whew, Alex,
Good
what did you
job.
think of the? Thank you. What did you think of this first episode? Did it live up to the hype?
I liked it. It was strange, but in a good way. Much like, and I know, I guess we're echoing what I am echoing what I said at the very first episode of WandaVision. Um, so, like I said, there's just enough of it that's quirky and kooky and weird that it drew me in pretty easily, especially with the cosmic aspects of the show and introducing this brand new kind of like group or company within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This Time Variance Authority. It's all brand new to me, so it's kind of really interesting, and I want to learn as much as I can about it. I did it live up to the hype? I don't know. I don't think so because I like I said I like my Marvel productions to be really like you know bigger than big and explosions and Mountain Dew drinking and all that good stuff. But um, for a first episode, did it draw me in? Yes. Will I be will I be watching the next one? Absolutely. So I guess it did its job, but did it live up to the hype? It's a no for me. Sam, I pass the question on to you. What did you think of this first episode, and did it live up to the hype for you?
What did I think? I got a very Stranger Things, X Files kind of Twin Peaks vibe from this first episode, which was cool because I love all those shows, so it definitely drew me in. I'm noticing a common theme amongst all of these kind of like Marvel TV shows like WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They spend a, they burn a lot of their first episodes on just like setup and just a lot of explanation and just a lot of like how did we get here and why did we get here and like why is this character doing what they're doing. And yeah, so sometimes that takes away a little bit, like they're like over explaining themselves, in this. So for me, it was a fun episode. It had some really good moments. Did not quite live up to the hype, but like I said, I I am hooked on this show. I'm curious to see where it goes. I liked the DB Cooper bit. I thought that was funny.
I
Um,
really thought that wasn't going to be until later on in the show. It was a big
yeah,
surprise
same
that it was
here.
like
Same here.
it was first episode.
Uh,
So with that
now,
being said, it was the TVA the whole show. As a matter of fact, was filled with all kinds of odd people and objects. So did anything stand out to you? Besides the DB Cooper bit.
the fact when they opened up the drawer and it showed all the Infinity Stones there, and they were like, "Hey, people use these as paperweights," and you found out that like the
Oh
Infinity
yeah.
Stones have no power in the TVA. So like you can pick up like the purple stone that like nearly killed the Guardians of the Galaxy in like Volume One, but also, and I'm gonna like butcher this line here, but the TVA agent said that there were multiple Infinity Stones, kind of lying around the office, which would lead me to believe, that like at one point they were that like each multiverse had their own set of in Infinity Stones. And the other thing that kind of caught my attention was like a lot of like they do like a lot of like little like cartoon like instructional videos in this episode, showing you how like there were multiverses and multiple timelines, and like like the TVA compressed everything into one timeline. But the next Doctor Strange film is entitled Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. So I think Loki's gonna have something to do with that, or at least Loki's gonna, kind of at least give you an idea of all of that, because I think, we're gonna start either. we're gonna see the kickstarting of the multiverse here, or at least like we're gonna see some hint of like I think is where Doctor Strange is gonna pick up. Uh, Alex, did any objects in the TVA grab your attention though?
I guess the first one, like you, was I really enjoyed that little cartoon segment where it was almost like what's it like when in Jurassic Park where they explain Dino DNA.
Dino
It was like
DNA,
that.
yes.
Yeah, it was, and the incredibly talented Tara Strong playing Miss Minutes, doing the voice of Miss Minutes, and it kind of had that. It was almost ominous when they were talking about how you can't stray from your timeline or you'll basically be erased, and um, that was one of the main things that I looked at, and I just like immediately was like, okay, so this show is definitely for me because that was really cool. Um, One of the things I noticed was when Loki first, like one of the very first shots of the show, when he wakes up in the desert, and the camera kind of like very slowly zooms closer to him. It echoed the same shot when Tony Stark had built that very first suit of armor and launched himself out of that camp and landed in the desert. And when you see when it zooms in the exact same way. So I and this is a question, and maybe I'm looking a little bit too much into it, but do you think that this is going to be kind of serve as a rebooting or like a reprogramming for Loki to kind of now that Tony Stark is dead, that he steps into that place, but he has to be broken down and kind of shown that you're not going to be the God King that you want to be. So maybe you should reevaluate your priorities. Do you think there might be something like that could be going on here, especially with what happened in this episode where he's shown that all of his acts and everything that he's going to be doing is going to be all for naught. And even in that very last scene that he watches in the time theater, it seems like that the Loki that's being choked by Thanos is actually talking to the Loki that's watching it, telling him like, you'll never be this God King that that you're sacrificing all this for. Do you think that this is going to be, and we talked like here I go again. We talked about this in a previous episode about how if they did introduce the Dark Avengers, how you and I felt like a dark horse person to join that team would be a Loki. And does this serve as that origin for that Loki?
Wow, man, you've really like went into like deep
You
thought
gotta you
on
gotta
this, man.
open
Like,
you gotta open your third eye, brother. You don't understand. You gotta overstand. You're right now. You just understand, but I need you to overstand.
oh my gosh, man. Yeah, no, I don't think he could come back to Earth and like lead the Avengers or like unite them in like the way Tony did. But yes, this could be like, like yeah, like at Tony's first press conference, like he sat down and he goes, I had my eyes opened over there. Yeah, this could be his Tony Stark. I had my eyes opened moment, and so yeah, for like the TVA, he could be kind of like their Tony Stark, albeit a little bit more arrogant and everything, But yeah, this could be his moment where he's like, hey, clearly I've seen that like nothing I do leads to me ascending the throne, and even Agent Mobius points out to him, like, hey, nothing you do, like Mobius kind of like really cuts him down in a brutal way and says like, you're not a hero and you're not meant to rule. You're meant to give everyone else like you're a jumping off point for everyone else to have like their bright shining moment, but you don't get one. And so I think that could also be like a challenge to Loki to be like, look, I'm gonna stop being everybody's stepping stone, and I'm gonna start, being like, I'm gonna have my own moment to shine here with you guys at the TVA. But I also think another part of me thinks that he just wants to like try to like understand or like get to the heart of like what powers the TVA, and he wants that power as well. And I think Mobius suspects that too. But I hope you're right though, man. Like I hope this is his, you know, Tony Stark, I had my eyes open moment, and he really starts turning it around because, yeah, he's always been more fun as an anti-hero than a than a villain to me, anyway.
Absolutely,
Uh,
and all credit to Tom Hiddleston. He really just like knocked it out of the park with the whole time theater, like that whole scene of him, watching his mother die, watching himself die, watching how many times that he fails, and it really to like you could see it on his face. So that's definitely credit to him as an actor, and not to say that, not to belittle anybody else's like performance in the show because I mean, Owen Wilson did is a fantastic job as Mobius so far, and even that I think his name was Casey, the little office temp or whatever kind of
yeah,
guy that
yeah.
was in there. Like he was, he ate up any scene that he was in, and the what's her name, Wunmi Mosako or whatever, the Hunter B15, the big chick that was slapping him around. She does an amazing job. Everybody is this first episode only had like I think it had less than 10 actual speaking, people with speaking roles in it, but it was still just like an amazing setup to what I hope is going to be a good show.
Let me ask you this: do you have any predictions on the origins of the evil variant Loki?
Man, and now it seems like I don't know. I just had that whole spiel about the MCU Loki, but I honestly I have to get back to you because I really don't have any I have no idea where this Loki could have came from. I want to say maybe I don't know how a Loki could get into the TVA and get out. Basically, is what I'm saying. So I absolutely have zero predictions for the show, which I guess is a good thing because I hate being able to call these things and so it'll help me keep my attention on this show. But what about you, Sam? Do you have any predictions at all for where you think this evil Loki came from?
I'm
Evil
gonna open
Loki, like
my
the real Loki.
I'm gonna open my third eye here. I'm gonna say that this Loki came from one of those universes, and he escaped to like the this timeline before the Time Lords or Time Gods had time to collapse his universe fully out of existence or like merge it into like the main like one I guess what we
The
would call
sacred
these
timeline.
yeah the sacred 616 timeline. I think this Loki came from one of those alternate timelines, alternate multiverses, and he saw these gods were about to like slam the door on his universe, and he skipped over to this universe. So I think he's one of the multiverse Lokis.
Yeah, I honestly I think it's only got like 6 episodes or something like that. So it's not going to be too long before we figure out where this Loki came from. Probably in this second episode that's getting ready to come out in I guess it would be 2 days from now. So you guys have got to be you got to be on your shit this time, guys, because we're not gonna give you like 10 days to
10
watch the
days,
show.
yeah.
You got basically a couple. You've got like 5 days before this thing airs. So make sure y'all are on it because we'd love to discuss it with you guys. We do read your comments and we do see when you guys ask us questions. So we absolutely love discussing this stuff with you guys, seeing your predictions and your theories and everything like that. And so please do share them with us. But Sam, I mean, I guess I got to ask you, like, what would you rate this week's show if you had to put a number on it?
I'd give it a 7.5, and that's a C plus in my book. But don't take that as like a bad thing. Like this was a very fun, a very engaging, a very entertaining 7.5 C plus. It's just once again, I just felt like Marvel was kind of over explaining themselves in this week's episode, and that just detracted a little bit from this being a solid 8.0, B minus B plus. So a very strong C plus. Like I said, nothing negative in that C plus. Just a little too much over explanation for me, which kind of took me out of the characters of this show at times. But still, really enjoyed it. Still really intrigued. Still really want to see where the show goes. But Alex, I flipped that question to you, sir. What would you rate this week's show?
Yeah, I think a 7.5 is about right for the show. I might go even a little bit lower, and like you, I had to preface like I only rated it this low because I feel like the show has a lot of room to grow, and so I want to make sure I don't like come out the gate like, oh my god, it was the greatest thing ever. It was a 10, and then then what happens next episode when it's like, oh shit, they got Thor in here, or something crazy happens or anything. So yeah, 7.5 is probably about where I would put it. It's not a bad 7.5 at all. And I definitely will be checking this show out, and you guys should too.
Well, folks, that wraps up another great episode of My Comic Life. As always, if you want to reach out to us, you want to hear us talk more about DC and less about Marvel, or more about video games, especially with E3 coming up this week, email us at mycomiclife@gmail.com. Again, that email address is mycomiclife@gmail.com. Also, please continue to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We actually have 13 subscribers to our YouTube channel. You could be that 14th subscriber. All we need you to do is go to youtube.com, look for that oh so fabulous, oh so awesome, oh so amazing My Comic Life logo, and just click subscribe there. You can listen to our episodes there. We post our episodes to Facebook and to YouTube every Thursday or every Friday, and you can comment there, or you can comment on our Facebook page. But man, those likes and those subscribes really help grow the show, and we sincerely appreciate them. And speaking of that, it is our time to shout out our My Comic Life fan of the week, and that is Chaz Darby out there in Santa Clarita, California. Thank you so much, Chaz, for listening, liking, subscribing, and emailing us your ideas for the show. Chaz, you are our My Comic Life fan of the week. We salute you, sir.
Salute to you, Chaz. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. But this wraps up our episode of My Comic Life. So, as always, folks, ditch the herd, be a nerd, stay strong out there, my friends.